Now, in my shooting career, I've actually experienced elbow tendonitis a few times, and I've overcome it twice. And currently speaking, at the time of this video, I'm going through it again in a little bit more of a severe way. And that was my own fault for not paying attention to the warning signs while increasing training volume. Now, it's here, and I'm working through it, and I'm working on. The intention was this. The intention was, let's allow myself to be able to train as I need to while still being able to recover. Now, that required me to focus on a different style of grip. Eric Grauffel currently uses this style of grip, and when I trained with him back in January of 2023, I had heard about the way he grips the gun. He shoots a very, very high amount of live fire, high volume in a very short time, 2,000, 3,000 rounds in a few hours kind of thing, for multiple days before a bigger match. He also started at a very young age. He started 9 years old when he wasn't very strong. So he had to learn how to grip the gun in a bit of a different way that produces results for him as a 9-year-old boy. Now, this kind of brings into current events with myself, in the sense that we put a lot of pressure with our hands in the way that we typically would grip the gun. We crush really hard with the support hand. We hold pretty hard, but it's usually subjective to what makes you feel mentally comfortable. This alternative grip method, while it still employs the principles that I've spoken about before, friction, leverage, and efficiency, it applies them a bit differently. Let's talk about the differences. Now, what's the same is the gun position in the hand is the same. So we follow our forearm bone up into the palm, and we have the gun in that same position there. What is different? For one, it looks different. So if you watch here, right, my index finger is across the trigger guard, okay? Additionally speaking, it's not being applied with a lot of grip strength. It's actually what I would call a post and a hook grip. And this is the way that Eric kind of describes it as well. If you imagine that your arm is a post set in concrete, it's just going to stay there. Your job with this arm is to hold forward with the shoulder. That's it. All I'm doing is keeping this space with the shoulder and not allowing myself to move it forward or back. Okay. The support hand is a hook. The support arm is a hook. So what happens is you pull back using the back muscles on this grip. So people say it might feel like a push-pull. I don't really feel like it's a push-pull in the sense that I'm not actively pushing forward as hard as I can. I'm just holding this and setting it forward with my shoulder. Okay? So I'm holding this forward and I'm pulling back with the other hand. What that does is that allows the efficiency part, right? So the friction is still the same. I'm getting a lot of contact on the gun. Okay? The leverage is still the same. I'm still getting high up, and even in some instances with the support hand over the index finger over the trigger guard, you could say I'm even higher. But the efficiency is a little bit different. I'm not rotating my arms in or the upside down horseshoe that I talked about in my previous grip videos. I am just pulling straight back, and I'm using enough grip pressure to feel connected to the grip panel. My estimation, that's like 40 to 50% of what my actual grip strength is. So it really, really reduces the stress on the forearms, on the elbows. The interesting thing is, in terms of recoil control, it's actually just as good as my previous grip. So everything coming together, the principles all making a difference, it ends up in a gun that looks very behaved. So pulling that back, what happens is you can basically open up the fingers here too on the firing hand if you really wanted to, because this hand is actually crushing the fingers into the grip as well. So I have found that this results in a much straighter up and down path, so the gun goes straight up and down more. I've actually noticed a little bit of a reduction in recoil. If you end up choosing to switch to this style of grip, however, something to pay attention to is that in dynamic situations, meaning shooting on the move, position entry, times where you're maybe in a lean, the grip performs slightly different. It's not a bad thing, but it is different. So when we're used to, when we're at a higher skill level, we have a lot of predictability of what's going to happen. And we're kind of predicting how the gun is going to behave based upon our prior experience. When we switch from a method that uses a lot of grip strength and really rotates in and really clamps the gun like this, it behaves a certain way. And when we switch to another method where we hold forward and pull back, it behaves different, okay? So now, while everything in recoil will feel the same, look the same, maybe be even better for you guys, what I would advise you to do is also to kind of play around with this in more dynamic situations with movement and entries and leans, so that you understand the differences of how it performs. Again, not better or worse, it's just different. Now, is this right for you? Honestly, I would recommend you guys give it a try. If you give it a try and it works better for you, again, if it's better, consider maybe continuing with it. If it's the same, consider what would make you want to try it or continue with it. In my case, it happens to be an injury, okay? But in your case, let's say you're a smaller stature person, you don't have as much grip strength. That might be an opportunity to use the bigger muscles of the shoulder and the back to control the gun in recoil rather than using the smaller muscles of the hands, forearms, and elbows. Okay, maybe you're at a more advanced age where you have to consider the longevity of it, which is something that I have to as well at 41 years old. Either way, it's just an alternative for you to play around with. If it works for you, great, continue with it. If my other grip way works for you, great, continue with it. The idea is what works for you, works for you. My job is to be able to give you multiple methods to help you succeed. All right, so play around with that if you want to and see what it does for you.